Hello everyone, this is Stephanie at Hightower Stitching with today's video, and it's got a long title. It's called Low Stress, Satisfying, Entertaining, Stash, Robbing, Cutest Summer Lap Quilt. Think fun. It was that time of the year and I was just sort of didn't want something else hard to do again. Every time I go and look at those magazines, I'll see, I think a lot of these programs are made with computers, and then all of a sudden there's so many pieces and there's so many things to remember. And I said, I'm not in the mood. I want something that is quick and good and cute and can even be done as a take along so that you could do your sewing. So I'm going to start with this project and then I'll show you where we're going. And it all starts with a main color that you like that's going to flow through the quilt. And in this case, I use blue like they did. This is blue, and these are 5.5-inch squares, and there are 40 of those. For this quilt, including the border, it's 2 1/4 yards of your color. If you want to do pink, or if you want to do green, which goes with a lot of colors, or even blue, and a blue goes with so many colors. So that's one piece right there. That's the one patch that we have that's going to be in there. And that's going to help you to decide what colors you want to go with. And so I just was going to go and start cutting out the other piece that I needed. And the other piece for this project are 3-inch squares. And you're going to need 240 of them. Well, that just made my brain click off. I said, oh, gosh, and I don't even know what colors I want to do exactly. And I said, well, I'm not going to worry about it. I know I've got blue for my main color. I'm going to start picking out colors out of my stash that would go with that blue in some manner. And so I started cutting and cutting, and I lay them out on a board. And here I just have that piece of batting covered cardboard that I carry from my cutting room back here to the kitchen where I sew. And so I had a bunch and I started doing those. So then once I got a nice selection of those, I had light ones, I had dark ones, I had blues, I had yellows, I had reds, I had some light colors with color in them. And then I also remembered looking at that quilt and thinking there seemed to be, though, like 1 or 2 colors that were repeated in there, and I think that was supposed to would blend it together. So I started out with my blues, and I chose this dark blue and then this lighter blue over here. So I was going to have more of those in the quilt too, but it's not that noticeable, but you do notice it after you look a little bit. And I know you'd like to know where we're going to go, but I just wanted you to know this goes piece by piece, and that makes it really neat. It's from the American Patchwork, February 2007, page 37, and it takes 3 yards of backing. So that tells you what a nice, sweet, small quilt that is. That was another thing that made it less stressful. So the first thing that I wanted to do was I take my background color, which is my blue, my 5.5-inch square, and then I pick 2 colors. And this really doesn't matter with these blocks. So just pick 2 of your 3-inch squares. And now I did this with a magic marker, so I always tell you that, but I just want to remind you, mechanical pencil worked great. And draw the line. And at first I said, well, that's not very long. I'll just do that when I was working on the sewing machine. But I keep looking at this going, oh, I want to touch this with a needle and thread. That's what's funny about this project. And I said, oh, and then I could take that with me when I go somewhere, especially in the summertime when you go to the doctors, you go to the dentist, you go different places, and you take trips. So take 2 of those, and you're going to put them on opposite corners, and then you're going to take and draw the line. Where I was going with that was that I started without a line drawn, and when I look back at a couple of them, I sort of curved them out, or I sort of curved them in. So I said, well, I think I'll go back to put my lines in. That's not a problem. So I've got my lines put in, and then stitch down that line, and then stitch the other one and you can do them one at a time, and then you're going to take and cut off this the extra piece right here on this corner, and you're going to cut this extra piece off. And then when you press it, press your blue towards the corners, and this is going to make your first patch. And this is one that holds the quilt together, but you're going to find out that these colors, it's not going to matter at this point what you put there. And so I'll show you a few more. You can see what I was talking about. And then sometimes I just said, oh, I like those together, so I'll do those. But then look at that set. All right, now here's what I discovered too as I was going. It's so much fun because I really went towards looking at these as rows. And what I'm going to need is I'm going to need four of these on each row. And then the other part you're going to need is to take and choose two colors that you want. And at first, you just start putting colors together. And even near the end, I still am sort of haphazard about it. And you can see that. Look at those. Those were those 3-inch squares. And I put two together. And then sewed it on the sewing machine. There again, it's a nice one to sew by hand. And then pressed it. Now, I'm still for this one, I still like putting my seams open. And if you can remember when I do mine, if I choose, we're going to make a 4-patch. So I'll pick these two. And I tend to like light, dark, and dark light just because. All right. And when I do mine, I turn it over and I pin at an angle where that seam's going to be, because that really will hold it if you don't like to have the bulk. Now, if you want to, though, you can have one going one way and one on the back side going the other way, and they'll lock into place, and then you can stitch it. Either one works really well. All right, so that gets us. See how easy this is? It's so neat. You do a little of this, you do a little of that, and then you put your two patches to make 4 patches. And again, you're going to find out, unless you just do something really gnarly, almost everything can go together. And there again, you've already got lights and darks. Like, look at this one. I've got my 2 darks opposite and the lights. But you don't even have to worry about that. Because look at that one. That doesn't exactly do that. But that makes my second piece. So I've got my blues and I've got my 4 squares. And for each row, it takes 4 of your blues and then 4 of your 4 patches. And now you said she's finally going to show us where we're going. Yes, I am. And here's how far I have gotten. I am down to adding, let's see, 5, 6, 7. I'm going to add row 7. And this is as large as it's going to be and then it's going to have a 3-inch border around the outside. But even here, if you can look, you can see the blues and how they fit. And I'm going to show you a picture from the magazine so you can see exactly as you get ready to work how they're going to fit with each other. And I've started just doing like a row or 2 at a time. And so here's my row 7 that I'm adding on. And sometimes I do 2 rows. And I just set, excuse this movement, I just set the next row out and look at it. Like I've got 7. Okay, so let's say I'm ready for the next part. Well, I look at the book, the pattern, and this one is just going to start with, try to get everything together. It's going to start with a square. So I put my square there as I'm looking at it. And then I looked, and it's going to go upward again. And so I just pick up one and I lay it on there. And then I'm ready to do another one. I've already used that color, so let's try. But this one, it's getting bluer and bluer as I went. This is really funny. I had to make myself go find the reds and some more yellows. And that's what happened. I didn't cut all 240 out at first. But if you got super patience, or you know you're going on a super long trip and you want to have it all together, you want to cut 240 of those and 40 of your blues. And then the next one just takes and goes up to the left again also. Let's see if I can find something with some more different colors. I can tell this is helping me because I got stuck. Well, this is not a different color, but it's still, here again, there's the next one. And it looks funny because, you know, we've got to take the sew off this, the 1/4 inch on each side. And so I'd lay those out and I'd carefully pin them together because you sure don't want to come back and have to cut them out. So, for example, if I knew like this one, I would turn this one over and I would pin it right up here on the corner. So I'd know that's where it had to be. Then I'd open it up and I'd turn the next one out and pin it up here on the corner. And you can have several rows of that or just that one and go do it and sew them together and press them. And I did press those seams open. And then when you get your long seam, the nice thing about this is you only have to match up where the boxes are. So I'd have, and then where the boxes end. Okay, so there'd be one, and there'd be one, and there'd be one. And then you're ready to sew it, press it, and then open the seam if you want to, or press it to the side. And sometimes I figured out that depends on whether you make close to true 1/4 inch seams or not. So I'm going to show you the picture from the magazine. Okay. And you could probably take and fix a piece of paper so that you'd know which way your arrows had to go for a year. There are 10 rows, and there's 8 across, and then you could tell which way your blues were going to go. But let me repeat. This is a low-stress, satisfying, entertaining, stash-robbing, cutest summer lap quilt, and I can't wait to get finished with it so I can figure out what kind of quilting I'm going to do in there, because it looks like it lends itself to orange peels. It lends itself to any kind of pattern in these boxes that you wanted to do, depending on how much work you wanted to do. So this is Stephanie at Hightower Stitching. I hope this gives you an idea for a good project. It was fun. I want to thank you for watching. If I have any notes, I'll put those in the description. If this was helpful or fun, which I always say to you, or you have something you want to say to somebody or a question to ask, please hit subscribe and like. Hitting subscribe does not cost you any money. Thank you.